Hey everyone! In my last video, I mentioned that I'm gonna talk about necklines this week, and I think the universe is trying to tell me something about this topic because right as I was getting ready to write my script, I came across this video by Emma Chamberlain, and it's titled, "The Black Turtleneck, a Closet Staple." Well, as somebody that does not own a black turtleneck for several valid reasons, today I'm gonna share with you what those reasons are, which is going to help you understand why you always felt a little bit off when you wear a turtleneck. So if you've ever wondered why you tend to steer away from this perfect closet staple, make sure to stay tuned till the end. Okay, so in my last video, I talked about weak or receding chins and the lack of definition between the face and the neck as a result of a recessed chin. And I mentioned that a turtleneck is actually a great way to add definition between the face and the neck. Especially if the color of the turtleneck is dark, the higher the contrast level becomes between the skin and the clothing, and therefore the higher the level of definition. That means, contrary to a weak chin where you would want to bring more definition to your chin area, if you have any features in your lower face that you don't necessarily want to bring additional attention to, a turtleneck, and especially a black turtleneck, is not going to do you any favors. Now, this is the exact same theory as using different contrast levels between the hair and the skin to alter the emphasis that's brought to your lower face. As I've mentioned in many of my previous videos, the higher the contrast between the hair and the skin, the more emphasis is brought to any features in the lower third of your face. So any features like your jawline, chin, lips, or philtrum, they all get highlighted more when your hair creates a higher level of contrast around your lower face. With turtlenecks, it's that exact same theory, but especially because the fabric wraps around the neck and directly surrounds the jawline and the chin, the lower facial outline gets emphasized the most when you wear a turtleneck. Now with hair, there's a few ways you can alter this contrast level. The first way is to lighten the hair color around the lower face so the level of contrast between the skin color and the hair color is much lower than with darker hair. Another way is to reduce the volume of the hair around the lower face, so using layers to get rid of the heaviness of the hair surrounding your face. And usually with this technique, the shape of the hair becomes more of an inverted triangle, and naturally our eyes are drawn more towards the upper part of the head where the hair is heavier. And lastly, you can remove the hair completely from the lower facial outline, either with an updo or a short haircut like a pixie, so that the contrast is eliminated from around the face and it only exists up here, which also naturally draws our gaze upwards. We can use these exact same concepts for turtlenecks. Instead of black, you can wear a lighter color that's closer to your skin color so that the contrast between your face and the clothing is not as severe. You can also use thinner materials to reduce the volume or the width that's added to your neck. Now, if you're going to stick to black but only change the material to a thinner fabric, this specific method will still define the outline of your lower face. But with the thickness of the material reduced, there is less chunkiness and less heaviness that draws more emphasis to the neck area itself. So it is still effective at making the lower face appear less heavy than with a chunkier style of turtlenecks. Or just like how we would remove the hair completely in order to get rid of the contrast instead of reducing it, you could stick to styles like mock necks where you're still leaving a decent amount of neck visible right underneath your jawline and chin, so the outline of your face is not as defined. But even with mock necks, I would still be a little careful because depending on how high the neckline is and which feature you're specifically trying to draw less attention to, the specific item of clothing might or might not work for your end goal. For example, I wore a black mock neck in one of my very first videos on this channel, and my uncle, who is a fashion designer, called me to say,
"Congrats on starting your YouTube channel, and please don't wear that shirt ever again."
I have a long face and I have quite a bit of a pointy chin, so styles that draw more emphasis to the shape of my chin have a further lengthening effect on my face. And my uncle was saying how the black mock neck that I was wearing in the video totally highlights my chin more, and it's the only thing that his eyes are drawn to, and it makes my face look like a horse. Those were literally his words. And I laughed it off, but of all seriousness, he was right, because at that specific angle of where the camera was sitting at, the neckline is not low enough and it kind of sits right above where my chin ends. So the shape and the pointiness of my chin is emphasized a lot more than when I wear a shirt that completely exposes my neck area. So my uncle's delivery was very blunt, and that's just the type of person he is, but he was also very right. I'll admit that. So even if everyone else says that a black turtleneck is a closet staple, if you don't want added emphasis to your lower face and especially to your chin or the lower facial outline in general, sticking to lighter colors or thinner fabrics, a lower mock neck, or even just a round neck are probably all better options for what you're trying to achieve. Now you might also be asking, well, Jen, I like my lower face and I don't really feel like I need to draw particular attention away from the area, but I still feel like turtlenecks look off on me. Why is that? There's a couple more reasons why you might feel this way, and they have to do with your neck and your shoulders. A turtleneck adds width to the neck, which has a tendency to make the neck appear shorter. The perception of length has to do with the width to length ratio of the specific feature you're looking at. So even if your neck is not long compared to your friend, let's say, but you have a much thinner neck than your friend, then both of your necks can appear quite long because the perceived length of a feature has everything to do with its width to length ratio. So when you're trying to determine if you have a long neck or a short neck, you shouldn't really be comparing yourself to someone else, but you should be looking at your own proportions. And with turtlenecks, because it often adds more width to the neck, it alters that width to length ratio of your neck and makes the neck appear shorter. Now, this concept of width to length ratio can also be used in relation to your shoulders. The shorter the neck becomes, the wider the shoulders appear in contrast. So if you already have broad shoulders like me, even if you don't have a particularly short neck, wearing a style like a turtleneck that visually shortens the neck will automatically make the shoulder area appear broader. So a short neck or broad shoulders are features that might make you feel like turtlenecks look a little off on you because the style of the neckline highlights those features more. Now, there's a few solutions that you can incorporate. The first solution is, again, selecting a thinner material, especially for the part that covers the neck area. Like I said, what a turtleneck does is it adds width to the neck. So choosing a thinner fabric and a tighter fit around your neck is going to help mitigate that widening effect. Alternatively, you could also select a style of turtleneck where the seam line of the neck is a little lower or deeper. Like I said, the perceived length is all about the width to length ratio, and a lower or a deeper seam line extends the length of the neck visually, so it has less of a widening or a shortening effect on the neck area. And this rule of thumb can actually be used for other types of necklines as well. A round neck with a deeper and lower neckline extends the length of the neck visually, so it has a tendency to make you appear less broad than a round neck with a tighter neckline. The second solution is to use your hair or your accessories to create an elongating effect. Wearing your hair down along both sides of the neck creates a vertical line that lengthens the neck, and the hair also adds a big visual break in your shoulder line as well, which breaks up the width of your shoulders and makes them appear narrower. And similar to that, a long necklace that creates an elongated V shape downwards is going to offset the widening or the broadening effects of the turtleneck. Again, even if we're not talking about turtlenecks, the same theory is exactly why a V-neck has more of a lengthening effect on the neck and a narrowing effect on the shoulders than a round neck or a boat neck. Now, another way to mitigate the broadening effect of a turtleneck is using a dark color, because a darker color has a tendency to visually contract while a lighter color expands. So wearing a dark shirt is going to make the shoulders and neck appear less broad, but as we talked about earlier, a darker color does increase the contrast level between the skin and the clothing, so it will have a more emphasizing effect on the outline of your lower face. So when it comes to choosing between a light versus a dark color for your turtleneck, it's a bit of a trade-off, and it's where you decide what you want to prioritize. Do you want to bring less emphasis or definition to your lower facial outline, or is making your shoulders appear narrower a higher priority for you? For me personally, I would pick a darker color over light because not only are my shoulders an area where I've always been self-conscious about, but also because I know for myself that darker colors are generally better suited for my skin tone. And there's also other ways for me to utilize my hairstyle to visually shorten my face, like face framing layers as well as layers in my hair that can help with creating a visual break and make the face appear less long. But that's my personal preference, and I do also wear a lighter turtleneck from time to time, so these are just guidelines that you don't have to strictly follow, and it's also not to say that you would have the exact same priorities as me. So like I always say, finding styles that work for you is a holistic process, but Understanding your own proportions and features and knowing these basic theories about contrast and shapes and what kinds of visual effects these theories can have on your face are all tools that can guide you in that process. If you are interested in learning more about your own proportions and the theories of the visual effects that different styles can have on your proportions, I do offer a course called Facial Analysis 101, and I also have the comprehensive hairstyle and makeup guides that can provide you with all of the knowledge and information about the different visual effects. So definitely check out the details on my website if you're interested. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, stay unique and stay gorgeous.